Hey YouTube land, iCondors here again doing another action figure review. Now today is a review for the basic figures from the new AquaMan movie line. The movie isn't due out for another couple of months, it's due out in December over here as far as I'm more aware, but the figures have started to drop so far and I've only picked up one figure out of the line. They do have some of the True Moves 12-inch scale figures as well, which I'm looking forward to picking up. But I picked up the main bad guy, well, the one of the bad guys from the film, which is this guy who is. I'm not too familiar with the Aquaman lore or the character himself, other than the films and a few, the few comic, or not comic, the few animated shows that he's turned up in. But I know from a couple of them that this is one of his main kind of antagonists or bad guys, which is Black Manta. Usually in the comics, he has more of a black silver deco, where his head has this big manta ray head is like all done in silver. But for the movie, they've gone with an all black scheme with kind of slightly greys. It's kind of like it's not really pure black. It's more like a really dark gunmetal grey, and it has the red eyes, and it looks like he has a bit of a mouth as well. If I bring him up closer, you might be able to see it. Generally speaking, he doesn't have that in the comics. Any of the comic versions I've seen of him doesn't seem to have that. But he does come with 3 accessories. But before I go into that, well, technically it comes with 3 accessories. But before I go into that, I'll go onto the box. So for the box, unfortunately, I've ripped the top here where Jason Momoa's head is up in the corner. So it's an image of Aquaman as opposed to the image of the villain uh, from the film. And then on the back, it's a ginormous pile of legalese stuff, and then you just have an image of the character in a kind of action pose. And then you have 2 other figures down the bottom, which is Aquaman himself and this guy, which I cannot remember his name, and I probably will pick up the figure and then remember his name. But I think it's supposed to be like the he's supposed to be like another villain character type thing. Um, and then just for on the back, it just shows the instructions on how to attach the extra accessories. Well, they're not accessories, but the extra parts that come separate in the box. So onto the figure itself. So as I said, he technically comes with 3 accessories, which is this sword, which is quite nice. Just take it out of his hand. It's actually quite a solid piece of plastic. It's not as rubbery. It is slightly rubbery, but it's not as rubbery as most Mattel swords seem to be. It seems to be fairly solid. It's done in this all black with kind of a trident on the bottom of it, and then you can see it has a silver lining along the blade edge. It's quite nice. He does have another kind of blade on his other arm, which is more of the kind of more softer rubber than the actual sword, but I'll get into that in a minute. And then the other 2 things that come separate in the package are these. They're like boosters, thrusters sort of thing. And I'm not sure if we can still pull them out once they're attached, but you can just see they're on pegs. Now there's 2 different peg types, so it's not to get them confused when you're putting them in. They'll only go into either, one will go into one side, but other than that, they just plug in and you can articulate them. He does have slight bits of red on his uniform, and he's pretty much predominantly this kind of dark blackish grey kind of colour. He's like a really, I wouldn't say he's pure black, but he's more dark, very dark gunmetal grey, as I said. Articulation, he does have standard ball joints in the shoulders, which can go that much. You can't do a 360 really too much with this arm because of this wire attaches into the wrist gauntlet for the blade, but you can do a 360 with this arm no problem. He does have single jointed elbows. Again, this one seems to be a little bit stiffer than the other one. I'm not sure if it's just because of the way the hose piece attaches into the back. That hose is actually attached to the backpack, and there's 2 other additional hoses that just go into his front, which I'm assuming are supposed to be air tanks for when they're doing the whole underwater stuff. He does have a waist swivel. He just has standard forward, and he can't really go back because of the armor sculpt, but he does have forward on the legs, on the hip. He can just go back about that much. He has single jointed knees, nothing in the ankles, 2 feet peg, and then he has wrist swivel as well, and he has a hinge on the wrist just like the other ones, and then he has a head as on a ball joint. You can get some great range of movement out of the head. And then just for a scale comparison, or not scale comparison, but a measurement, just to get the old measuring tape there. So he stands just, I'd say just a little bit over the 6-inch mark. So he's a little, he would be in scale with stuff like Marvel Legends. In fact, I might have one to hand without knocking everything over. That's off to the side here. Unfortunately, this guy's missing his backpack. But let's see if we can get him into shot. Here he is standing next to a Marvel Legends, is it Silver Beetle or whatever he's called again? Can't remember the character's name. I just got him because his design looked really cool, but I think he's just called Beetle. And he's pretty cool. He has, as I said, he is in the more basic figure line, so he's at like a hair smaller than the kind of multiverse figures that Mattel do. But overall, he's quite a nice figure, and he's not too expensive. Over here, they're about $12 or 12 euros a figure. I did see the really cool giant shark thing with I think it was AquaMan comes with it, and it's a giant shark that has like, well, to put it in Doctor Evil terms, it has freaking laser beams on his head. But yeah, it's like sharks with missile launchers. So yeah, there you go. Well, I'm assuming they're torpedoes since they're underwater, but you get the idea. Overall, he's really really cool. Black Manta. I haven't seen many of the other figures. As I said, I have seen there is a 12-inch version of this guy. He doesn't seem to come with any accessories, like he doesn't come with a sword. I think he might have the wrist blade, but other than that, he doesn't seem to have any of the other kind of, he doesn't have any kind of weaponry other than that. But overall, he's a pretty cool figure. I do know that there's the multiverse figure, which has more articulation, and he has a build-a-piece for the, is it the trench? I think they're called the trench warrior, which is kind of this weird kind of angular fish-looking beast guy. Again, I don't know much about the lore or the background in the comics, so it's all new to me. So, all in all, I think he's a really cool figure. If you enjoyed the if you like Aquaman, I know a lot of people seem to crap all over him because he's like the one hero that speaks to fish. But overall, I think he's a really cool figure, and he would make cool background character as well if you're doing something like a Star Wars diorama, because he probably would fit in pretty well with like most science fiction kind of theme stuff as well. So there you go, guys. Just a quick video review for Black Manta from the upcoming Aquaman movie. So as I say in my videos, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will try and get back to any comments in the comment section below. Cheers, guys.